This is Little Caesar's Pizza. How can I help you?
Summer had rolled in like a soft wave in June 2003, casting golden sunlight over the streets. Children played outside. Neighbors watered their lawns. Everything looked peaceful. But behind one innocent-looking door on the east side of town, something terrifying was about to unfold. This is the true story of 9-year-old Jeanette Tamayo, an ordinary little girl living an ordinary life until one man turned her world into a waking nightmare. What you're about to hear is not just a kidnapping story. It's a story of horror, bravery, and a twist that no one could have predicted.
He went downstairs, came back upstairs with the pizza and was standing with the pizza box and was staring at me. And he handed me a flyer. And on the flyer was a picture of me, and it said missing. Turned to me, he was like, I have to get rid of you tonight.
Jeanette Tamayo lived with her mother, Maria Tamayo, and her 15-year-old brother, Juan. Their father was no longer in the picture, but Maria worked hard to raise her kids right. She'd recently taken on a job helping at a local office, something to bring in extra money. They were a close-knit family, protective, loving. They didn't have much, but they had each other. Jeanette was the kind of child you couldn't help but love. Smart, sweet, full of laughter. Her teachers adored her. Her neighbors said she had an old soul. But even old souls can't see what's hiding in the dark. A few months earlier, Maria had gotten a job through a man named Fernando Apodaca, a man who seemed polite, professional, and helpful. But there was something off about him.
To her own hands.
My fear turned into courage. And I told myself, I'm a fighter. I'm gonna make it.
He called too often, showed up uninvited. Sometimes he'd stare too long at Jeanette. Maria noticed, but she brushed it off. She needed the job, and Apodaca hadn't done anything. Yet. What Maria didn't know was that Fernando Apodaca was watching them. He knew their routines. He knew when Jeanette left for school. He knew when Maria left for work. He knew when they were most vulnerable. He was planning something sick, something evil. And the first move? He made it on June 6th, 2003.
And when he was asking me questions, he was kind of peeking inside, trying to see who was in there. And that started making me feel really uncomfortable, and I started slowly closing the sliding door. I got scared because I felt a really bad vibe from him. And he put his hand in the way, slid it open, grabbed me, and took me to my brother's room. He threw me on the bed and took off my pants.
That day, Maria picked up Jeanette from school like always. They pulled into the driveway, smiling and chatting, completely unaware of what was waiting inside. When Maria opened the door to their home, she felt it. Something wasn't right. Before she could react, a figure lunged from the shadows. It was Apodaca, wearing a mask, holding a weapon. He attacked Maria first, dragging her to the floor. Juan tried to intervene, but he was just a teenager, no match for a grown man fueled by rage and obsession. Apodaca struck them both, beating them into submission. Jeanette screamed, but she was helpless. Apodaca didn't want money. He didn't want revenge. He wanted her. Bloodied and bruised, Maria and Juan could only watch in horror as Apodaca grabbed Jeanette by the arm and dragged her out of the house. "Please, not my daughter," Maria begged. But her cries meant nothing to him. He forced Jeanette into his car and sped off, disappearing into the streets of San Jose. Just like that, she was gone. The police were called within minutes. An Amber Alert was issued. The city went on high alert. But the manhunt had just begun, and Apodaca had a head start. He took her to his home, a one-bedroom house in the middle of nowhere. He didn't tie her up. He didn't gag her. He did something worse. He locked her inside a closet. For hours, She sat in darkness, cold, hungry, scared out of her mind. Every creak of the floorboards, every sound of footsteps made her flinch. Apodaca would open the closet door and stare at her. Sometimes he'd say nothing. Sometimes he'd whisper disturbing things. Jeanette didn't understand all of it, but she knew it wasn't right. He didn't touch her, not yet. But the threat hung heavy in the air. She prayed, she cried, she held on to hope. Somehow she believed her family would come. She just had to survive. News of Jeanette's abduction spread like wildfire. Local stations ran her picture every hour. Police cruisers canvassed neighborhoods. Volunteers passed out flyers on every corner of San Jose. The Tamayo home became the center of the storm. Reporters swarmed outside. Detectives worked around the clock. But as the hours turned into days, fear began to creep in. Would they find her? Was she still alive? Maria and Juan were released from the hospital with bruised ribs, black eyes, and broken spirits. But they refused to rest. Maria gave every interview, pleaded on camera, and begged the public for help. She said Jeanette was strong, that she believed her daughter would come home. But privately, she was breaking. Meanwhile, inside that one-bedroom house, Jeanette Tamayo was learning the terrifying rhythms of her captor. During the day, he would leave her in the closet. No windows, no light, just walls closing in. He fed her occasionally. A sandwich, water, enough to keep her alive, but barely.
I don't care what happened to you thinking and your kids, but I don't can do anything. I don't can do anything. I don't protect my kids.
He fed her occasionally. A sandwich, water, enough to keep her alive, but barely. At night, he would sit outside the door and talk to her, sometimes gently, sometimes with threats. "You're not going anywhere," he whispered one night. "You belong to me now." Jeanette didn't speak. She barely breathed, but her mind never stopped working. She remembered everything, what the room smelled like, what his house looked like, the sound of passing cars outside. She was memorizing details, because even at 9 years old, she was planning her escape. Back at police headquarters, a major break came in. Fernando Apodaca wasn't just a random co-worker. He was a convicted felon, a man with a long criminal history, including sexual assault, domestic violence, and kidnapping. He had served time before, and somehow he had slipped through the cracks again. Authorities had been too slow to connect the dots, and now a dangerous predator had vanished with a little girl. The FBI joined the hunt. So did the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Time was running out. On the 4th day of the kidnapping, something unexpected happened. Apodaca had gotten careless. He left Jeanette alone in the house for several hours. Maybe he trusted that fear would keep her in place. Maybe he was getting cocky. But this was his biggest mistake. Because Jeanette, shaking, scared, and starving, finally did the unthinkable. She opened the closet door. She tiptoed through the house, and she found the phone. It was a miracle.
He gave me his cell phone. He had a cell phone with him, and he made me call for pizza. He gave me the phone number of the cell phone that he had, and I gave it to the man. The man on the other side of the phone said, "Can I get your address?" He told me the address.
Closet door. She tiptoed through the house, and she found the phone. It was a miracle. Hands trembling, she dialed the only number she could remember. Her home. The call went through. Maria answered the phone. "Hello?" And then, silence. Then a soft voice. "Mom, it's me, Jeanette." For a second, Maria couldn't even breathe. Her knees buckled. "Where are you, mija? Where are you?" Jeanette couldn't explain exactly. She was too scared, too disoriented. But she gave them clues, names she heard, noises outside, a house with a fence. It was enough. The call was traced. Within the hour, a SWAT team was dispatched. It was just after midnight when law enforcement stormed the house. Guns drawn, canines barking, doors kicked in. They found Apodaca in the bedroom, unarmed, stunned, and confused. He didn't fight. He didn't run. And then, they opened the closet door. There she was, Jeanette Tamayo, thin, dirty, exhausted, but alive. A police officer scooped her up in his arms and carried her into the night. Flashlights, sirens, radios, all blurred into the background. She closed her eyes and whispered one word: home. The city of San Jose erupted in joy. Candlelight vigils turned into celebrations. Maria fell to her knees when she saw her daughter again. Juan held her like he'd never let go. Apodaca was arrested and charged with multiple felonies, including kidnapping, assault, and false imprisonment. He would never see the outside of a prison again. Jeanette was taken to the hospital, where doctors treated her for dehydration, bruises, and trauma. But she survived. Not because of luck, not because of mercy, but because of her own courage. Years later, Jeanette Tamayo spoke publicly about her ordeal. She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. I was scared, she said, but I remembered my family. I remembered I was loved, and I kept telling myself, they'll come for me. She was right. This is not just the story of a kidnapping. This is a story of evil entering an ordinary life, and the incredible strength it takes to survive it. Jeanette Tamayo will forever be remembered not just as a victim, but as a little girl who looked fear in the face and refused to give up. If you found this story as chilling and inspiring as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. More true crime stories, both heartbreaking and heroic, are coming soon. So, this was today's true crime case. Do you think justice was really served in this case? Or is the story still unfinished? Don't forget to share your opinion in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next crime story. Till then, stay safe and stay curious. Thanks for watching.